Where was you from before that?
Texas.
Texas. What brought y'all to Cleveland?
M&M Mars. My dad got a job at M&M and moved us up here. Yeah.
So, with so you're part of the Promise Keepers, Family Promise Keepers. Was it under another name prior to that?
No, we've always been Family Promise of Bradley County.
Is that national or just?
It is part of a national organization.
I don't remember hearing about it until about '07. I guess did it ramp up or do something different?
We started, the founding board members wanted to make a difference in the community, and so back in 2009, 2010, they started meeting and looking at different options that they could do, and they found Family Promise and just
So that's why
worked.
I started hearing about it.
Yeah. They worked real hard because we developed a network, got all the paperwork done for the IRS, we worked a lot with churches, so they made a lot of those connections to the churches here in town, and got us started. And we opened in 2011. We opened to families in September of 2011.
What was, or Family Promise is not as big as United Way, right?
No.
Do y'all have like a budget every year?
We, my local budget this year, we are up to about $250,000. So we have two major programs. We work with families that don't have any shelter that need immediate assistance. We provide shelter for them and then do case management to get them with the ultimate goal to get them back into a home as soon as possible. And then about 4 years ago, working with these families, we would realize that they would get back into the home, but then something would happen, like a car would break down or a child would get sick and they would miss work. And so we started a rent and mortgage assistance program. And then during COVID, that thing blew up.
I bet.
So we brought in over $80,000 in the community just for rent and mortgage assistance. Because the most cost-effective way, and now with the housing market, the best way to combat homelessness is to keep families in their home in the first place. It's the most cost-effective way, just to get them over whatever issue they've got going on, whether that's, an emergency that came up or job needs to, new employment needs to be found or whatever.
There's a lot of organizations that we have no idea of that are national, like Family Promise. Who would have ever even heard of that around here then? Is there other organizations like that, or how do you find them?
I don't know. I recently got a call. I'm trying to find organizations in Athens right now. We get a lot of different calls for people needing help, and so I've got a lady that's in Athens that is just out on her own. So it's just a lot of searching and by word of mouth, trying to find, who's gotten help from what organizations out there.
But $250,000 doesn't go very far, does it?
No, not at all. We're a small-scale organization. We work with our shelter program. We work with up to 2 families at a time, especially right now. What we do now is instead of providing shelter in the church, which is the model we've used before, since COVID hit, we moved families into a hotel room. And so we're actually spending the money to keep them in the hotel room. We just now started getting back into the church. COVID changed everything for a lot of people, and our whole model was based on using church spaces when church people weren't there. And so when COVID hit and all the churches closed, we immediately had to rethink and pivot and figure out a new place for our families to go. So we partnered with a local hotel. It's not the best in the world, but it's clean, it's good management, he takes care of our people. So that's the way we've been working in the past 2 to 3 years. And now we're just now taking steps to get back into the church.
Actually, you had the bad economy hit.
Yes.
And then COVID.
Yes.
So that was 2 things, like you haven't had a break.
Right. Yeah, I kind of feel that way sometimes. It's been, we've been really fortunate over the past couple of years with COVID. We have some great supporters. I reached out to all of our donor base at the very beginning and said, listen, we're going to have to move our families to a hotel. This is an added cost. Can you help me cover this? And had a really successful letter campaign and raised all the money that it took for us to spend in 2020. And then in 2021, we were granted some federal funding dollars that help us to pay that. So right now we're taken care of, but in the future, it's going to be a challenge.
What will be next?
What we would like to see as far as Family Promise is concerned, we would like to purchase a property where we could house our families. Like I said before, we would go to the churches and we would provide these volunteer opportunities inside the church. So what we're wanting to do is get a centralized location to where people can come to us. We can provide shelter for the families as well as having volunteer activities. That's really what made Family Promise so different from like the emergency shelter, is that we were putting families in a church with volunteers that, just wanted to be there and love on the families and take care of them. So it was a really positive interaction. And by removing that with the pandemic, that hurt us pretty bad. So, we want to provide these opportunities and be able to bridge these gaps and build these relationships, because that's what's so important in our community. Let's raise everybody up. So that's what we're looking at now.
Boy, it's so difficult for somebody to get help when the first thing they need is somewhere to stay. Mm-hmm. What do you do the next day?
Right. It's all they think about. If you don't have shelter and you don't have food, that's all you think about all the time. It's really hard to overcome things like addictions and mental health issues when, you're so focused on where am I going to sleep tonight, or where are my children going to sleep tonight. So, by us stepping in and providing that shelter, it kind of gives them a break to where they can shift and focus on other things.
I was watching a interview or a documentary about somebody that was homeless, and she said, I would find a job, but I spend all day long looking for somewhere to stay and something to eat. I don't have time to look for a job. So you don't think about that, but that would take you all day long.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, our families tend to hide a lot because there are children involved. They're always afraid that like DCS is going to come in and take the children away. But then you're looking at, almost wearing your friends and family out if you're staying on their couch or in their basement all the time.
And what starts this? What starts this problem of not having anywhere to live?
That's a really complicated problem. I've been working through the United Way with the Housing Coalition for 8 years now. And I've seen it kind of grow and change a little bit. Like our need right now, and we've kind of seen this come in the past couple of years, is that there's just no affordable housing stock available. So, a lot of the apartments that are going up are going to be like, there's 200 units of luxury apartments going up on Vista Drive.
800-900 a month, 1,000.
Right, and that's just not what our families can afford. If you're making $725 or even $850 out there, you can't afford more than $650 a month.
Is that what they're making, about $8 an hour? Where are they working? Fast food or?
A lot of all over. So I've got, here in the recent past, I've had 3 families that work in caregiving type situations. They're not a CNA. One lady comes in and she just does whatever the person can't do, clean their house, make them a meal, that kind of thing. So a lot of it is a service type position to where, you're only making maybe $850. We just recently got a family member or a family moved from our shelter program and into a home, and it took her forever because we just couldn't find anything that was affordable. Luckily, she was able to increase her, not just increase her hours at work, but she also received a raise while she was with us. So, that expanded her budget a little bit, but on the same side, she has to report all that back to any other social service agencies that she gets. So like somebody may get an increase in wage, but then they may have a decrease in their food stamp benefits, for instance. So it's just kind of, it's really, there's a lot of layers.
It'd force you to lie, wouldn't it?
What I've seen is that people will turn down small raises just because that's the choice that they have to make, is that they would rather stay where they're at and keep those benefits. So,
It's a dilemma, isn't it?
yeah, that's not, they want to do better. We all want to do better and be better, but if you put them in a tough situation, they're going to do what's right for their families.
And really, I think all of that started about 2009, don't you? With the bad economy, some places going out of business, and then it's just kept going to where now there's not even any. You see, I see signs. People say, "Well, I see signs, help wanted." I don't remember seeing many signs that say help wanted, except at fast food restaurants.
Right. It is tough. A lot of the, you hear that there's a lot of jobs available now, and there are, but there are a lot of service industry jobs that just don't pay quite as much. If you're a waitress at a restaurant, you're making what, $2.13 an hour plus tips. You really get dependent on those tips to try to boost that income.
Yeah, and then the credit cards, if they tip their credit card, then that makes it worse, I guess, doesn't it?
Yeah, that adds a layer to it for sure.
Yeah. So, what would be affordable housing? I mean, at $8 an hour, that's how much a week? That's
I would have to get a calculator. What I've looked at,
$320 a week,
yeah,
less taxes.
right. So they're bringing home what, $250,
$250, yeah.
So, that's $1,000 a month that they have to live on.
Yeah.
And if you're not spending any more than 30% in rent, which is, the what is that? The bank stated.
Yeah.
Affordable.
Yeah. It used to be 1/4, I remember.
Right.
Now they're saying 1/3.
Now it's 1/3.
So if you're two family income, then you could make $1,000 a month take home.
Right.
And so your rent would be $300. Where are you going to rent for $300 a month?
That's livable, absolutely. We in the past we felt like our families could stretch and do $600 if they could get in and do $600, pay $600
Plus
a month.
electric bill.
Plus electric bill.
Which is what?
Right.
Would you say?
Oh man, that runs anywhere between $60 to $100 a month.
I'm going to say maybe more like 150 on the average when you factor in winter and summer.
Oh yeah, true.
But by your calculations, 600 was affordable housing.
That's what our families were making work. They were making it work. Not necessarily affordable. This family that we just worked with, Jennifer, we held on to her for a long time. She applied at a lot of different places, but she finally got into subsidized housing, which she's going to be paying. I think it's $545 a month.
That's with subsidy.
That's with subsidy. Yeah.
We think of subsidy as being free, but it's not, is it?
No, not at all. And, for the most part, we as a community, we're not asking for free. When we work with our landlords, I'm not asking for a landlord to put themselves out to keep a family in a home. Everybody needs to get paid, but it has to make sense too, It's got to be fair and equitable, and if you're just not making the money, if you're making, $1,000 a month, then it just doesn't add up.
I don't know what the answer is, do you?
No, I think it's community-wide. There are places out there that have figured it out. I read an article, Houston, over the past couple of years, their leadership really wanted to make a difference, and so they focused on what's called chronically homeless. These are people that you would typically think of in homelessness. They're on the street. They've been on the street for a long time. They've got a lot of different issues kind of layered on top. They moved 25,000 chronically homeless people from the street and into housing. Now, they did that, and there's more challenges to come along. I'm not going to say it's easy, but I think the work is worth doing. I think it's that important. I think everybody in our community, in the Cleveland community, deserves a home. And, we just, working with the Housing Coalition, one of the things that we do every year is called a point-in-time count. This is mandated by HUD on down, and it does a couple of things. It just takes a snapshot picture of the homeless population at this one particular time. And then it also has to do with funding, how funding gets allocated to different areas. So every year at the end of January, we do this point-in-time count. That's one thing that we have taken on, and we've made sure that we canvass the area. We actually have volunteers and outreach workers that go out and canvass known camping sites. We try to interview people just to make their voice heard, to account for them, so that we know what the issue is and what we're looking at. From 2020 to 2021, what we saw was a 114% increase in our homeless population. Now that's street homeless, so they're either on the street or they're staying in a shelter. That does not count those families that, like I mentioned before, they're staying with friends, family. It does not count the people that are paying for hotels, staying in a hotel and using that as shelter. But it gives us a picture, and what we see right now is that number is going up. So, we work really hard to educate the community. We spoke at the Kiwanis Club last week. Myself, Shauna Stock from the United Way, and Corinne Freeman from the Caring Place, and just to begin to advocate for what we're seeing and see if we can get our message that, we need some housing. That's the bottom line, is there needs to be some housing available.
Now, if you were to build a apartment complex and be minimum expenses so that you could rent them inexpensive, me as a builder, they've got so many requirements on what I can build that you wouldn't believe. I mean, fire regulations, impervious surface, drainage on the yard. It goes on and on and on. A building permit's $2,500. So you got to factor all of those things in. So if you was to build a building without the regulations that had minimum expenses, you could build it for $60,000. But a water tap's $1,100, sewer tap's $1,100. I had a job here a while back. We put the gutters come off the roof, and we put them in a pipe and just take them out away from the house into the yard. It's called gutter drains. You don't have to have them, but it's really nice to get the water away from the house in one central location. Well, they refused me a certificate of occupancy because I had not dug out the grass underneath that open pipe and put riprap around it and it was just headed towards the city ditch. I guess I've got $500 in that little pipe that I just didn't even need to pipe out.
Wow.
So that's one example of 50 reasons why we can't have affordable housing.
Wow.
So if you wanted to have affordable housing, let me build affordable housing without the regulations.
Right.
Isn't that a simpler solution?
That's really interesting that you say that, because we are looking at different ways that we can encourage builders to, whether that's tax breaks or...
Just go down to the city and say, hey, for a while here, let's let them build stuff that's just safe and not get over the top.
Right. We certainly need it.
I mean, nobody can express to you how complicated it is now and how expensive it is if you're not in the business I'm in. So I could solve affordable housing very quickly. And it would be through regulations, just reducing them. It's regulations that people don't even know there are on them.
Right, right. Oh goodness. Well, that would be awesome and worth a conversation for sure.
Yeah, and any builder would tell you that, not just me. Now, sending them to motels, to me, that's a really good answer also, because you got a bed, kitchen and microwave, and you got somewhere to stay for, I don't know, $150 a week, $200. How much do those cost?
The motel that we use is a little bit nicer than your average. It is about average, I would say. It's $320 a week for me to use it. He cuts me a little break, and then I get a tax discount. So, if the problem with motels is if the family has somebody paying for it, it's great. It serves as shelter. You can cook your food. You have a place to use the bathroom, take a shower. You can take care of basic stuff. Families, however, that pay for the hotel on their own, they get caught in this cycle to where it's affordable enough to where they can pay week by week, or maybe they can pay a couple of weeks in advance. But then it's too expensive to where they can't save up any money, so they can't save for like a rent deposit and first month's rent. They put all of their money into that hotel, so it just becomes a vicious cycle. But if you're in a desperate situation and you've got the cash flow for it, it certainly does solve the problem in a quick fix.
Until they go up $25 a week.
Right.
But there's a lot of hotels around that could be used for that if you could get them down to $200 a week.
Yeah. And
then maybe the thing is to have where's your office at?
We're located right behind Wesley Memorial. I'm in a small. At my office, it's just an office. We don't shelter people there.
Yeah.
So it's just a small brick ranch house behind Wesley.
Oh yeah, I know where that's at, off Peerless. Yeah, you got parking in the back. You're walking the stairs. So is Family Promise? Is every town have one?
There are over 200 affiliates all throughout the country. We're in all but 4 states. Here in Tennessee, there's one in Blount County. There's one in Chattanooga. There's one in Kingsport, I believe. So there are several of us out there, which is nice because when we have any kind of challenges, or if I've got a potential new program that I'm looking at doing, so there's over 200 people I can reach out to and say, hey, have you guys ever faced this before?
Have you ever tried this before? That sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's really nice not have to come up with everything on your own and be able to pull from that resource.
So you weren't one of the founders. You came in after it started, is that right?
Correct. I was recruited by one of the founding board members as a volunteer. I became the volunteer coordinator for my church and just served, set it up to where when families came into the church, I had all the volunteers lined up. We had everything taken care of. And then just as needs changed at the office, I was a stay-at-home mom at the time, and I just kind of filled needs. And then eventually, about 4 years later, the executive director position, they made me official as executive director.
Have you always been in a charitable mindset?
I have always had a heart for people that are homeless. I can remember being on my honeymoon, actually, and this guy holding up a sign that was like, I'm not going to lie, all I want is a beer. And so we went in and bought him a beer and took him back out, if that's what he wanted, and he was on the street, and he was being honest. We kind of felt like his honesty needed to pay off. But it really, I don't feel like, I feel like everybody deserves a home. Everybody needs that chance. There are very few people out there that choose to be homeless, that want to live that lifestyle. Now, there's a lot of challenges that go into it, the mental health, addictions.
That's a whole different thing, isn't it?
It is.
It's just you got to separate that from your mind when trying to figure out how to solve them.
Right.
I got up the other morning 2:30, and I could not go back to sleep.
Oh, goodness.
Couldn't. It was 3:30. And one thing that puts me to sleep are those little yellow Twinkies. You know, those 2 in a pack. I can eat them and just pass out. So I drove down to Paul Huff at the convenience store, and I got a pack of those.
Oh, my.
And you would not believe the people wandering around there at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, wow.
There was no less than 25 people.
Oh, my.
And I would have not believed it if I hadn't have seen it.
Wow.
And one guy was running around the Taco Bell with his shirt off, going like this.
Oh, wow.
And he was a mental problem.
Right.
And I went I thought, well, this guy's going to come down here, you know, from off the hill. So I said to the clerk, I said, I think we're getting ready to have company. And he said, oh, that guy's here every night. And it was just common.
Wow.
And I said, where do they come from? He said, across the street. And I looked across the street, and it looked like that. Remember the Michael Jackson video? What was the name of that video? You know, yeah, Beat It. Remember all those werewolves coming out down the city? That's what it looked like. I mean, not that many, but there was 15 of them.
Yeah, there are a couple of tent cities over off of Paul Huff that we're aware of.
Where is it? All behind the Asian restaurant or Harry's convenience store?
There used to be one. I think most of those people have been moved off. Now there is a collection of people on Atkinson Drive back behind the Church of the Harvest area. That church is
that
abandoned.
right off the interstate?
Yeah, there's people back there. There's also people across the street from Target up in the woods up there.
Golly, what can we do? Where do they come from? They were not here 5 years ago, to my knowledge. Is it something new?
I think it's been growing over the years. I think Cleveland is really different in that we've hid our homeless for a long time. And I think right now we're just seeing that there's just so many that it's becoming more of a visual problem, that we're just seeing them a lot more.
So you think they were here?
Yeah, for the most part, I think they are. Most of the people that we talk with, you know, they're local residents. They're just down on their luck, or, you know, have multiple problems that have just compounded the whole housing issue.
One thing about mental problems, that guy that was running around Taco Bell with his shirt off at 3 o'clock in the morning, he had a mental problem. And I don't know who you call.
There's not many
you
facilities
call the police?
available. That's being discussed right now. You know, what is the proper channel? How do you respond to those calls? It's my understanding that there is a grant through the city police department that is going to create a task force that would respond in nonviolent type situations where the person potentially has a mental illness or substance abuse issue, then they're acting out in harmful ways. That is one way to combat it.
Now this guy was only harmful to himself.
Right.
So
right.
you couldn't say he was attacking me.
Right.
So I don't even know what the police would do, but he was obviously a mental case.
Right. There's not many facilities available anymore. You know, those have all kind of shut down.
What if they just said, hey, you're mentally unstable. We've got to take you to this gym, and we're going to have supervisors watch over you, and we're going to interview you, and if you've got a mental problem, we're going to send you to the mental facility. What would be wrong with that plan?
Right. There does need to be some kind of plan in place so that they can get the help that they need.
Because right now, I don't really see a plan. If there are, I don't know it.
Right.
If you go down to the Central Park hamburger place, sit for about 10 minutes. And that can't be good for the gateway to Cleveland.
Right.
And I'm not saying they don't need help. I'm just saying let's get them help.
Exactly.
Whatever it is, let's start. And if it's wrong, we'll figure that out, but this isn't working.
Right. Well, you are on board. I'm excited.
Well, it's a real problem. I'm not alone in this thinking. Everybody's thinking the same thing.
Right. Well, I'm really excited. The Housing Coalition that I sit on, we have been invited by Councilwoman Marsha McKenzie to attend a meeting to help the city, understand the homeless population that they've got right now, and to potentially talk about some solutions. How can we fix this issue? How can we go about it? So that's going to come up in a couple of weeks. I'm super excited about it.
Let me tell you about Capstar Bank. They're located in Nashville, Hendersonville, Gallatin, Athens, Madisonville, Sweetwater, Etowah, and in Cleveland at 950 25th Street and 3855 North Ocoee Street. I've used them. I like them. Give them a try. They're no problem. Could you imagine living in a tent?
No, not at all. I have met several people that's where they live, and I just...
And how they got COVID.
Right. For sure. I met a gentleman one time. He lived in a tent right off of Highway 60 out towards where the school is now. And he, that's just, he had been living that way and, had some mental issues that should have been dealt with and just were not. And we tried to help him out as much as we could, but then he had moved on. His area got flooded, and when we went back to find him, he was gone. So
it's a problem, I know that. But were you like this younger? Did you want to help people?
Yeah, I'm a helper. I'm definitely a helper. My whole life I was into environmental science. I was I'm a biology major. That's what my undergrad is in. And worked in hospitals. I worked out at Olin for a little while, working in a lab, and really enjoyed that scientific work. But, just through different life experiences, I kind of got redirected and found myself in a position to where I could help people every day. I could make connections for people and saw how important that was.
Now, the people we're talking about, the homeless, is not you're more helping the people that are in trouble, need help, and seek help, and so it's almost a different group than the homeless.
It is. From what you typically think of as homeless. I work with more motivated people that have a crisis and just need help over that crisis.
Yeah, in other words, $5,000 would change the whole trajectory of their life.
Absolutely.
Not $50, but
right.
$5,000 would just totally change it.
Right.
So, y'all have a bike ride.
We do.
Why was I thinking that was the 4th? I don't know why I had that in my mind.
I don't know. September 17th.
That's not this coming Saturday.
Well, I think we have 3 Saturdays.
3 Saturdays.
I think it's in 3 Saturdays.
And are y'all partnering with Scott's Bicycle?
Absolutely. Scott's Bikes they're instrumental in setting up this bike ride. I enjoy bikes. I get out and I ride bikes, but that is not my business.
Where do you ride?
I was out at Johnston Woods earlier today.
What time did you get there?
I think we finally got out there about 11:30.
Did you see George McCoy?
I think he was leaving when we got there.
Was he by himself?
Yeah, he was. Yeah. I ride on Tuesday nights with the Scots group.
Oh, really? At the...
Well, I ride with
you go to the Johnston Woods, yeah.
Yeah.
That's where they ride. You ride mountain bikes with them on Tuesday nights, right?
Up at Enterprise.
Yeah. Oh, Enterprise, yeah. How far do they go?
There's a couple of different groups that take off. There's the fast people that are, in fit shape. They
the
can
A's,
fit.
B's, and C's.
Yeah.
Are you in the C's or
I'm
the
in
D's?
the C's. Yeah, the fast group can get through. They can do all 4 of those trails in just a little over an hour and a half, push an hour and a half. I go with Henry. We're on the slow train, just putting around and enjoying the park, I saw an owl out there not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago. It was great, beautiful owl.
I used to ride with them on Thursday nights, every Thursday night, on the road bikes, and they'd have the A, B, C groups and the D's, and the A groups, they are superhuman people. I mean, they're superhuman. Is that the way the mountain bikes are? They're superhuman.
Yes.
It's almost like you got to just see it to believe it.
It is. They take off, we wait because it's the freight train moving through. They get going pretty fast.
But I never enjoyed mountain bike riding for some reason. It's too much thinking. You got to watch out for roots and tree limbs, and on the road, to me it's less thinking. You're just riding and paying attention to traffic. Mm-hmm. It's the most addictive thing I've ever done.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah, I enjoy that it engages my mind and my body, and I've got a goal in mind. I'm going to go this far. I'm going to do these trails.
Have you ever monitored how you feel before you leave and how you feel when you get back? It's like, if they could put that into a pill, I don't know what it is that makes it so extraordinarily different. I've got a theory that it somehow or another gets your blood flowing through your system, and it helps to filter something, but there's something magical about it that I cannot put my finger on.
Absolutely. I'm with you on that 100%.
Now where does it leave out on the 17th?
We are starting and stopping at the Black Fox Elementary School.
Uh-huh.
So our 100K riders are going to be starting out.
Which is 64 miles, right?
64 miles. And you talk about superhuman, man. Those people, they get out there and they get to it. They'll be back in no time flat.
They'll be back in 5 hours.
I know.
Like
it amazes me. But they'll leave out at about 8 o'clock in the morning, and they'll be gone. They're going to dip down into Georgia a couple of times. It's going to be a beautiful ride for them.
Cohutta.
All 3 courses are pretty. Yeah, going down through Cohutta. We'll have the Bradley County Sheriff's Department. We've got some volunteers coming through. They always serve with us and help us out, and they ride with our cyclists on the ride, so I know that everybody's safe.
I rode the 3-state, 3-mountain ride 4 years in a row in Georgia and Chattanooga.
Oh, wow, yeah.
3 states, 3 mountains. And we got to the last sag, which is what do they call it?
Support and gear stop.
Yeah, you get something to eat and something to fill up your water bottle. Mm-hmm. And I got to the last one, and I thought, I'm going to do pretty good this time, at least finish middle of the pack. And so I headed out, and the people I was with, I thought I'll get, a minute ahead of them, because that's a big deal. Mm-hmm. And there was they paint the roads with the arrows, and evidently they had a ride the week before. And I rode 8 miles.
Oh, no.
Because at the last sag, there was like 12 miles. And I went straight, following the arrows, and I was supposed to go down the hill, and I went 8 more miles. So I rode 72 miles.
Oh, wow.
And boy, that was really bad because there was nobody. I thought if I'd have just waited on them, we'd all gone to the same place.
Right.
So do you have paint, are y'all going to be painting the roads?
We have these stickers. They are biodegradable, so we stick them down the day before. They're color coded. We give our cyclists a wristband, so they follow the color that they're riding through. But That's my worst nightmare, is to have somebody get lost on the route. So this year I'm gonna be putting my phone number down on everybody's wristbands just in case, to add a level of protection that if somebody does happen to make a
Go the
wrong
wrong
turn, we can find them.
So how many have signed up?
We've got 64 signed up as of yesterday.
Now, how many you have? What, a 100K and a 50K and a what?
The 25K.
So the 25s, that's how many miles?
That's about 13 to 14 miles.
And there'll be a lot of people ride that. I mean, they'll be
Yes.
riding everything from tricycles to, so you don't have to have an expensive bike.
Not at all.
In that 25K route, there'll be, somebody might be on a skateboard. I mean, it's
Absolutely.
literally that.
Yeah.
But the 30K or the 50K will be people that at least have an idea they can do it.
Yeah, you know you're going to be committed for a little while if you're on the 50K.
Now, I rode one year on that, and it was a different group. I don't think it's Family Promise. I think it was Caring Place, maybe?
Maybe. And then the Habitat had the big bike to build.
That's when I first started riding. I don't know why they quit doing that. They were really getting rolling. A lot of people did that.
Yeah, that's actually how the circuit ride was born, is that there were a group of riders that rode in the Habitat ride every year, and it went away, and they were kind of like, well, what do we do now? We want to keep having this ride, you know, and so they came to us with the intention of, we're going to set it up this year, you're going to be the beneficiary, maybe next year we'll find another organization. And they're like, great, that's fine, we love bikes, we'll do this. And it just kind of stuck.
So this is your first time doing it?
No, this is my 8th time doing it.
Oh.
So they came to us, that was 8 years ago, and it was a good partnership. We've just continued to work on it. And then finally, last year, they kind of gave it over, and it's now an official Family Promise event.
That Dave and Doug, they're the nicest people ever walked the face of the earth, aren't they?
They are. They are. I am so grateful to be able to work with them on a project. Abigail Coulter, who is Doug's new daughter-in-law, has been working with us. She's been doing some great stuff promoting the ride and
She was married to Doug's son, right?
Brandon.
Yeah, Brandon.
Yeah.
He's in the military,
He
I
is.
think.
I think he's coming home in like November.
So what do you have an expense with this?
There is an expense. We are super grateful this year. We have a fantastic hero. Easy Auto came through and said Bob Card participated in the ride beforehand and really enjoyed it. And he said, I want to stand up and make sure this happens again. So,
I think he's riding in it, isn't he?
he is.
And
He is.
Robbie
He's
is
doing
too,
50K.
maybe.
Yeah.
Bob's going to do the 50?
Yeah. I'm really excited. We've got a team from Scotts. We've got several teams have signed up, so that's really exciting.
So what are they naming themselves as a team?
Yeah. We've got a team from Scotts, of course, that has several riders. Victoria's going to ride. Some of the people from the
I can't
shop will
keep
ride.
up with Victoria.
I know. Oh my gosh, yeah. But she's fun to ride with, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
real fun.
So, yeah.
What about Steve Hadaball?
He
Do you know
is.
him?
I just now this year, he's been a key player in developing this.
He makes Dave and Doug look rude. He's so nice. I ride with him. I rode with him a lot. He got one arm.
Really? Yeah, yeah, that's amazing.
He falls all the time, or I don't say all the time, but I've seen him fall about 3 times.
Oh wow! Oh goodness. Well, he actually developed the courses that we're riding.
He's very good.
Yeah. His team has the Cleveland area cyclists.
Yeah.
They came together and they plotted out the routes and tested them out, and they were approved. So it's
Jordan rides with them. Do you know Jordan?
I met Jordan. Yeah.
Yeah, I rode with Jordan a lot.
Yeah.
He's really good.
They're great guys.
They're really good riders. And Taylor, what's his name? That rides with them.
I do not know Taylor.
Tim Waldrop, do you know Tim? They'll have people from Dalton come too.
Really?
Oh yeah, there'll be people from Dalton, but 64 people, that's a lot of people.
And we've got them all the way. Several, obviously in Cleveland, some in Chattanooga. Some people from Knoxville are coming down. and going to be riding with us as well.
What if it's raining?
It's a day of event. It's rain or shine. So we'll be out there unless it's just totally storming and unsafe.
They'll wait for it to clear and still ride probably.
Pretty much. Those hardcore cyclists, they're just going to go.
They'll all be back at their house by 1:30. Now the SAGs, did you say, Stephen, did he say where to have the SAGs?
He did. He set up these routes, and so all 3 of the routes touch this one point, Mount Carmel Church, actually, down on the south end of town. And so we have reached out to them, and they're going to allow us to have the SAG in their parking lot.
They got a nice parking lot.
They do. They do. They've got a lot of space. High Point Climbing and Gym is going to come in. They're going to do it upright. They're going to have snacks, waters, Gatorade. They'll take care of everything. So,
are all the groups going to start at the same time?
No, the 100K are starting at 8, and then the 50 and 25 are going to start at 9. We wanted to be able to give the 100K a little time to get out and come back.
That'd be like 5 minutes.
I know, it is.
The first time I went and rode with them, I just got my old bicycle, and I hadn't ridden in, 20 years. And I thought, well, I'm a pretty tough guy. Surely I can ride with him for a while. And I rode with him for 8 seconds. And that was it.
It dropped you.
Oh, in 8 seconds.
Oh, gosh. Yes, yeah. I'm not, there's no way I could keep up with.
But you don't ride any road bike. Will you ride in it?
I might bring I'll have my mountain bike either way. It's hard as the ride director to make sure to be able to carve out that time, but it's so tempting. I mean, it's going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
I want to be out there.
And usually September, early or mid-September is a little bit frosty in the mornings. I mean, almost cool.
Almost.
And then about 9:30 it starts to warm up. It really feels good. Where they have 3 SAGs?
Just one. The way the routes go, that's the only one. We kind of the 100K riders kind of loop back in on themselves and touch the same point.
So they'll come back to it if they want to.
Yeah.
And that's the best way to do it. That way you can have the most. A lot of them will have 3 different SAGs, but this way you can have all at one spot.
Yeah, we have done that in the past, and logistically it's a challenge to have 3 different SAGs in 3 different places.
What if do you have a limit for the time when it's up?
Doug wants to, we will have the Sheriff's Department riding with us. We're also going to have chase vehicles on every route as well. So if somebody makes a wrong turn, we can chase them down. Has a flat.
Which is very possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if people are lagging behind, we can pick them up in the chase vehicles and bring them back.
Well, that'd be embarrassing, wouldn't it?
It's needed, though. There have been a couple of times when the ride has lasted a lot longer than it should have because we had people doing distances that they weren't quite qualified for.
Yeah, the best thing to do is get off and let the air out of your tire and say, I had a flat tire.
There you go. That's right.
What else do you do? What other hobbies do you have?
I'm a little crafty. I like different things. I love to paint. I'm not very good at it, but I love to do it.
What kind of paint?
Just acrylic paint. I love to paint on canvas.
The thick paint, like a...
Not the oil, no, just the acrylic, the looser paint.
Not like Bob Ross? Was it Bob Ross?
No, not like Bob Ross. But
is that his name?
That is his name.
He's really good, isn't he?
He is really good. He is really good.
But you don't do those?
No. I've got 2 grown boys. I'm excited. My youngest is a sophomore at Lee and is doing well.
Mine's a sophomore at Lee.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
No, I think he's in the 11th grade. Is that sophomore?
The junior.
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 Yeah, junior. Yeah, he's a junior.
So
What's he studying to be?
English and history double major. So we'll see. He's interested in lots of things. He loves World War II specific, but most
Wonder
military
why.
things. I don't know.
That's-
He's always been that way.
That's prior to MASH or the Korean, or so that World War II. Wonder what made him interested in that.
I have no idea. He has always been interested. We had a birthday party one year, went down to the Army surplus store, and that was the best birthday party he had. It made him happy.
Isn't it so good to be interested in something like that? I
Yeah.
mean, just think about how important it is for him to be interested in something, really interested right now. I
Right.
mean, that saves so much time later.
Right. It is. It is. It's really important. I'm very proud of him that he's reached out and read some of the books that I would not have even thought
Maybe
about
political science is what he's,
reading. He may end up.
because why did we have the war and why did we get
Right.
out of it, that sort of stuff.
I always told him when he was a kid that he should be a lawyer, that he argued all the time. So maybe. Oh.
That's what I'd have been, a lawyer, if I'd could have stayed in school.
I don't.
But did I see where you were a hula hoops?
No.
Who was that?
I'm not sure. I have been out at the bus bar. We have I have taken a couple of videos of girls out there hula
Oh.
hooping. I had this.
So that
one-
wasn't you.
That is not me. I do not have hula hoop skills. I wish I did.
Do you live close to the bus bar?
No, I don't. We live on the opposite. I live on the north end of Bradley County, so it's
That's
a
where I
trek.
live. What sort of area?
Out off Nopone. In that
Towards
area.
the end?
Yeah, yeah, it's real nice. My parents have a plot of land out there, and we just happened to find a house that was pretty close to them, so it worked out.
How long does it take you to get into to here?
About 20 minutes.
Is that right? I remember when it used to take 10, but now you got to come through Georgetown. That's going to be a nice road, isn't it?
When it's done, I keep reminding myself that every time I get stopped in
I
traffic.
didn't realize it was going to be the road was going to be so high.
I didn't either.
I mean, it's just, but it'll be nice.
Yeah,
That'll be the next. That's where the progress of Cleveland's going to be, right there in the next 5 years or 2 years.
I agree.
There's a lot of people coming in from there.
I agree. There's a lot of opportunity on that road.
Do you, Nopone, do you come all the way down to and merge into Van Davis, or do you get off on Moore Road and hit Eureka when you
No,
come
I
in?
go all the way down to where it hits Van Davis to Highway 60.
Because that's a little, they had a lot of wrecks there.
Yes. Yes, that's a challenging intersection.
It's not easier just to go on Moore Road?
We could go on more. It's just it's a little bit slower.
Oh, really?
A lot of smaller roads.
You know how Nopone got its name?
No.
That was part of what they called the the Hopewell Indians. There was I guess a tribe they called the Hopewell Indians, and they pone was means bread, and it was no bread,
Oh.
so it's No Pone Road.
Huh. That's funny.
That's how it got its name.
That's interesting. I did not know that. That's
Yeah, the Hopewell Indians were a big civil town or whatever you want to call it, bigger than here at one time.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
the Hopewell Indians. When you go grocery shopping, do you have to come back into Cleveland, or is it, I guess, there at the Fresh and Low?
Yeah, we'll stop there on coming home from work. Lots of stops at the Fresh and Low. That one's convenient. But yeah, we have to. That's the Saturday morning chore. Is going to the grocery store, getting everything we need. Because it really is, I mean, it's far enough. We're far enough out to where I call the house. Do we need anything?
What
before
do
I
we
come
need?
home?
Let me tell you about Capstar Bank. They're located in Nashville, Hendersonville, Gallatin, Athens, Madisonville, Sweetwater, Etowah, and in Cleveland at 950 25th Street and 3855 North Ocoee Street. I've used them. I like them. Give them a try. They're no problem. Hello, I'm Dee Burris, and most of you know me as a general contractor. In October of 2020, I started a podcast that I call The Discussion with Dee Burris. Each week, I have conversations with interesting, informative, and fascinating people from Cleveland and Bradley County and the surrounding areas. You can watch the discussion at dburris.com on YouTube and Facebook, where we would ask you to please subscribe, it's free, for updates and notifications of new shows. It's no problem. That Fresh and Low, I remember growing up, people would go to the grocery store every Saturday and they'd get all the food for the week. Was that you when you were growing up? Mm-hmm. I mean, it was a ritual.
Right.
Then you washed the car, changed the oil, and you didn't go back to the store during the week.
Right.
That was, I mean, you didn't even stop to get milk and bread.
Right.
And then later, when they had the convenience stores, then you said, well, maybe I should stop and get some milk and bread. And that's what caused people to now, you won't even spend 30 minutes in the store because you're going to be back in a few days.
Right.
I wonder how much time it would save us if we went on Saturdays, got everything for the week, and did not go back. Would it save time during the week? I mean, we say we don't have time. Maybe we spend more time pulling in the parking lot.
Right.
But people don't even eat out like they used to. I mean, people don't eat at home like they used to.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Do you think being on a routine is helpful for people?
I think so. I think it's really important. I know it has been for me in the past.
I think that you can about do anything you want to if you're on a routine. I think your body will get used to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Knowing what to expect, when to expect.
Yeah, it seems like your system will get used to about whatever if you'll just be regular. Mm-hmm. So do you go every Tuesday night and ride with them?
I try to.
Is that part of the routine?
It is for me. It's, I'm sure you experience it. It's just one way to relieve stress and blow off some steam throughout the week.
But there's never a time. See, I ride Tuesdays and Thursdays and Saturday afternoon. And I have to start out on Tuesday morning really not letting anything get in my way. And around 4 o'clock, somebody will call and want something that just tears me up. Mm-hmm. And then I think, well, I'm going to try not to, maybe I shouldn't ride, and then I'll ride, and then I come back and say, well, that wasn't a problem.
Right.
I'll do this.
Right. It does. It helps so much. It clears my mind and gives me the ability to focus and think about things.
And I get hungry, and I'm hungry for this or that. I'm not just eating because I'm eating. You ever notice that? When you get back, you think, I want a egg sandwich, or your body's craving something, and if you're not riding, you're just eating because it's 6 o'clock.
Right, yeah. I usually crave tacos. It's usually tacos for me.
Do you cook them at home?
We've gotten, my favorite's Misfits. Oh my gosh, we
Boy,
get Misfits at least once a week. But we've gotten now to where we can, it's not as good, but we can almost create them at home, so.
I went in there, I'd heard everybody talking about how good it was, so I went in there, and boy, it is good. Mm-hmm. It's different, isn't it? Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is about it, but it's just, and if you order their the specific names, they've figured that out. What taste goes with what.
Yeah, that's some skill. I'm not a chef. I don't cook. My husband cooks at home. I'm not very good in the kitchen. So I really admire those people that can put taste together like that.
Yeah, they can, because it's really a good taste. Mm-hmm. I forget what it was I used to get when I went over there, but you can't eat but about 3 of them.
I know.
It's about you think, well, give me 5, and you can't eat but 2, maybe 3.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't even really eat the chips, do you? Because the tacos so much.
The tacos a lot, yeah.
But see, for you to stop at Misfit Tacos and take them home, you're eating like 40 minutes later.
Yeah.
Do you like Mexican food, hot stuff?
I do.
Like Tabasco or?
I enjoy jalapenos. So I like to.
And just eating them raw?
On things, I won't, not like a pickle.
Yeah.
Although I do know some people that do, but.
You like that better than Tabasco?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd rather have jalapenos. Yeah, for sure.
Boy, those kind that you eat out of the garden, they'll light you up.
Good stuff.
Did you say, which church did you say you went to?
Wesley Memorial.
Oh, that was just talking about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I grew up over on Norman Chapel.
Did you really?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
On the top of the hill.
Nice.
Yeah. That was all a field.
Oh, wow.
Or behind it was all a field, a dead-end road.
Huh.
They used to have, that's where people would dump cars.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. Didn't know that.
If you're ever out in the yard and you just kick around the dirt, you may pull up a little piece of a car.
Huh.
How many go there?
I have no idea off the top of my head. They've got a pretty good a pretty good congregation there. They've got 2 services, 8:30 and 11 o'clock service. Ramon Torres is the pastor there. He's fantastic. He's a great guy.
Now, so what is it, Church of God or?
It's Methodist.
Methodist. Mm-hmm. You always been Methodist?
Since I've been in Cleveland, when I was back where I'm from in Texas, I grew up as Baptist, but when we moved to Cleveland, we went to First United Methodist Church, and then when I got married, I moved over to Wesley. Mm.
Where's First United? Where was
Just
it?
down the road.
Oh, okay.
North Ocoee.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting how things happen, but with your environmental stuff, that was trying to save the planet too, wasn't it? Sort of.
Oh yeah, I guess
I mean,
so.
in a sense, you're trying to affect the environment in a positive way, and so now you're trying to do it on more of a social thing. Do you think that doing it like with Promise Keepers, that it's more you can see results quicker, and that's what you like it more than environmental stuff?
I think for me, it's working with the people and developing those relationships with the families that I work with. Seeing them go from being super stressed out and having the world against them, and then overcoming challenges and achieving goals that they thought they wouldn't achieve. I worked with one family. It's the first family I worked with as a case manager. And they had been in the emergency shelter before they came to us, and so I brought them into the program, working with them, and they had a speeding ticket or something that was $1,200, and they were just going to let it ride.
A speeding ticket that was $1,200.
It had been compounded with fees and stuff. And so she wasn't going to pay it off, and I told her, I was like, well, you shouldn't drive. I can't let you drive because her license had been revoked, and she couldn't drive. And so we set up the goal that she was going to achieve that, pay that bill off and get her license back, and she did it. And she told me, she was like, that's something that I just never would have done in my life, and just by dealing with things small bite-sized pieces and helping families overcome challenges that they just never thought that they would do on their own is really important.
Well, how was she supposed to pay that off? Really?
Right.
I mean,
right. If she's paying,
it would have compounded faster than she could save the money.
So we gave her the opportunity. She wasn't. We took care of all of her bills. We paid. We were essentially paying for shelter, food. She didn't have to pay for anything, and so she was able to focus that energy and pay off something that.
We think of people like that as being useless and it's their own fault and stuff, but that's not the case, is it?
No, not. I mean, everybody slips. Stuff happens, but we've worked with 80% of the families that I work with are single parents. Most of those are single moms. We were talking about incomes before. In today's climate, you need those 2 full-time incomes to pay for everything that everybody's got to pay for our housing, our food.
Now you need somebody to
bills.
watch the kids and take them to school. So
Exactly.
now there's another problem.
Exactly. So, and what are these single parents supposed to do when they just have their one income and they're the only person that their child can depend on? They get in a really tough bind. It's almost impossible to overcome those things on your own.
Mathematically, it's impossible without not eating for 39 days.
Right. Making big sacrifices.
Walking to work for 30 days. And you say, well, why don't they do that? Well, they got kids. They got this. They got that. It's just you're in a position where you just need a. I had a subcontractor one time. I said something about it. He said, "Hey, Dee, just give me a minute." And I thought, he's right. Just give him a minute. He'll fix this all. He'll catch it up. Just give him a minute. So these people, it's not that maybe it's not a minute they need, but just give me a few minutes here. I'll get this thing together. I just don't want to go reverse.
Right.
I often wondered if the government could give people, an interest-free loan without qualifying for 1 year or something. Because we talk about this $5,000 would literally change everything for them. Not $500, but $5,000.
Right.
And if the government would say, we're going to give, you don't have to apply for the loan because that gets, they don't have good credit, they wouldn't be where they're at.
Right.
When I rent property, people will say, did you get a credit check? No, because they may not have good credit. And what's that matter of whether or not they're going to pay the rent? Why do I care if they got good credit? I just want to care about the month.
Right.
But if they could get a loan for interest free for 1 year,
it would make a difference. What we saw with the stimulus checks that came out through the pandemic, people were afraid, well, maybe these people will mismanage their money. They'll go out and buy big TVs or whatever. But what we found was people paid for housing. They paid for food. They paid for what they needed to take care of their families. And they stayed housed for an extended period of time because of that. I think that's a good idea.
And that may have put things off to where now it's starting to, because now there's less jobs available. These companies have found out that with the pandemic, they found out that they didn't need 15 employees. They can get along with 12.
Right.
So I don't know what the answer is. Maybe it's a minimum monthly income. That Andrew Chang, that guy that's running for governor, he's got some good points. I mean, I'm not for socialism, but somebody's got to help. Somebody's got to help.
Right. Because where does it stop? The needle is moving Whereas people that thought that they were okay, you know, living paycheck to paycheck, but they were okay, are getting into dangerous territory now with the amount that housing is going up, the prices just in general are going up. You know, it's becoming.
It's almost like they were about to go off the waterfall, but they were holding their own, and just any second.
If you want residential or commercial plumbing, give Rick's Plumbing a call, call Jason or Josh. They'll do you a good job. I use them. I've used them for years. They're no problem.
Come on, woo!
If it weren't for families and parents, we'd probably all be broke. I mean, if you
It's the
think about
truth.
it,
Absolutely.
I mean, it's some things are a minuscule help, but it's better than, you know, if you didn't have it, it'd be a problem.
Absolutely. You know, a lot of times with the families that I work with, that's the biggest difference that between me and like Jennifer, who just moved out of my program a month ago, is that if I got laid off, my husband got laid off, if all of our income was gone, we both have family that we could turn to that would support us in different ways. You know, a lot of my families, they just don't have that network. They don't have the families that can support them.
I bet if you sit and down and did a real study, you'd find out that was 95% of the problem. They don't have a net.
And that, you know, that was what made Family Promise when we were in the church so important, is that we were almost creating for that to happen with our families. They would come into the church and talk to volunteers, and we've had families, for instance, I had one dad connect with one of the volunteers in the church, and so they just developed a relationship, and it's like they just naturally slid into like a mentor type role. And to this day, they still talk, you know, as much as they can, just to check in. You know, it's not that mentor is going to provide financial help for him, but I mean, just having that emotional help of, hey man, I'm going through this problem, can you help me out? Or can you help me talk through this so I can find a solution?
Or somebody to say, hey, you're doing the wrong thing there, don't do that.
Absolutely.
Some people don't have that, and they make the wrong move.
Absolutely.
But, you know, so many people, going back to speeding tickets, I got a speeding ticket here, not a speeding ticket, but running a stop sign. If I didn't have the time to fight it in court, I
Right.
wasn't guilty. I stopped. I know I stopped.
Right.
He was wrong. And if I didn't have the money to pay it, or the wherewithal to say, I think I can fight this, then if I had to go to work, I couldn't even been there to go to court. So I'd have just said, well, I can't pay it. And that girl that was talking about, they had the $1,200 speeding tickets, maybe the first one she wasn't even guilty.
Right. Right. And you had a house that they could send that information to. You had an address that worked. You know, sometimes
Exactly.
in our families, they're staying with mom, or they're staying with a friend or a cousin, and, you know, they no longer have that address.
And if they did, they might not even give it to them. So
Right.
that's another thing we hadn't even talked about here, is just the,
Yeah, it is. It's tough. It's really tough.
you know, I remember in school, one of the worst things I ever remember is in elementary school, they were going for a field trip. And one of the people there couldn't go, they didn't have the money, so he stayed in the room and we all
Oh, wow.
left. And if I'd pay $10,000 to go back to that point in time and say, I'm not going either.
Yeah.
Now, why would a society do that to a
Right.
kid?
Right.
I mean, what kind of sick society would do that?
That's pretty tough. You know, you just told that child that they're not worth it, and that they're not good
I don't even
enough.
remember who it was. I just remember I was the idiot that went on the field trip. You know.
That's tough. That is tough. We work really hard to make sure that our families, our kids, really Family Promise, we're all about kids, making sure that they feel safe, supported, that they have their basic needs taken care of, because our intention is to stop the cycle. I went through a master's program at Lee several years ago and studied homelessness extensively. And what I found in my research there is that if a child went through homelessness as a child, they were 60% more likely to be homeless as an adult. So I want to make sure that that stops, you know.
And I'm not so sure that that's because of their mentality or if it's just something they can't get out of.
Right.
And people, I hear all the time people saying, well, you can make it. Well, I don't know. There's so many obstacles that me and you haven't even talked about. We don't even know what they are.
Right.
That a lot of people need help with, and we don't even know what they are. Mm-hmm. You know, I've got some apartments, and the city will. And I have some small houses, affordable housing, and the city will send me a letter saying we're fining you $100 for not mowing the yard. Well, it's the tenants living there. They're just paying. Some of mine are, you know, $5.50 a month because I don't go up on the rent, and these people are working. They probably don't even have a lawnmower.
Right.
And I could have a guy mow the yard, but that would be $50 a month. Mm-hmm. Now do I charge $600 or $650? Well, it's just something we're going to work out, and it's only for about 3 months.
Right.
But I've got letters in there now where the city's saying I've got to mow the yard, or it's going to cost me $100. So,
Oh, goodness.
and so I don't know what the answer is, but I don't think that helps.
No. No.
Do you think that helps?
I don't think so. I mean, there's a place for codes. Like I'll cite a story from the Salvation Army. So they were working with a family through their programs. The family got into a home because they were desperate. They just needed a roof over their heads, so they agreed to live in this home. Well, there was no floor in the living room. Like literally, the couch was on dirt. There was no floor. And so they had been there for a while, went back to the landlord, was like, really, we need to fix this. We need to have a floor in the living room. And the landlord said, I can't afford it. I'll have to go up on rent if I do that, and gave all kinds of reasoning why he couldn't do that. So finally, through the help of the Salvation Army, they were able to get out of that and into a more appropriate, livable situation. As soon as they moved out, the landlord went in and fixed the place up. So, you having grass that's a little too long is not an issue. But this family that's living with a dirt floor in their living room, that needs to be taken care of.
Where's the code official there?
Exactly.
I guess they're too busy driving around saying where my yard's up. And it's not even my yard. They're living there. And
Right.
Maybe they like long yard. I don't know. What's it my business?
Right. No, my.
It's just, we think the poor don't have their priorities straight, and maybe we're the ones that don't have them straight. Because you go around the city and the vacant lots the city owns are higher than that yard of that poor tenant. I'm trying to keep the rent low. They're trying to make it. We're all just living, and now I gotta go to court because the yard's high.
Wow.
And maybe they mowed it the next day. I don't know.
Right.
It's just irrelevant,
Right.
isn't it?
I would
To
think so.
the picture.
Yeah. I think there are definitely some bigger issues that we need to address.
But I don't know who to address it. Maybe Marcia.
Yeah.
Now if you talk to Marcia about it, she'll help if she understands it. She'll help all she can. I know her that well.
She has been fantastic.
She probably even called the meeting, I guess, right? I'm sure
She
that
helped
she's
facilitate it.
proactive.
She has been attending our Housing Coalition meetings for a while now. She's been really good to have on that group, on that committee, you know, to bring the city to the table and to bring that knowledge to the table. We're a group of over 30 organizations with more than 50 individuals involved, just trying to meet with the sole purpose of fixing the housing issue in Cleveland.
Did you know Charlie, her late husband?
No, I did not. No, I did not.
He was a great guy.
That's what I've heard some awesome stories.
He really was. But what else is going on?
Just working, trying to make ends meet for families. You know, we're looking at potentially finding, like I said, a static site, what we call a static site, a centralized location to house our families. Really looking for that opportunity.
How would that look?
You know, when we first started talking about it, we were talking about a big 10,000 square foot place that could house our offices, meeting area, and provide shelter for the families. But then, you know, you've got to think about the cost as well. You don't just have that upfront cost of purchasing that place or rehabbing it, but then also maintaining it. So we're just trying to see what opportunities are available in town. I have found a potential home that I need to look at that has different rooms set up where we could house families in it, but then we would also have somebody on site as for the case manager.
Isn't that like the Caring Place does that? Not the Caring Place, but
Foundation House Ministries, maybe?
no, there's another one though. I never can think of the name of that place. Might be the Caring Place. But how many people would you say that tomorrow when you go in the office, how many families would you think that you need to find somewhere for them to stay?
Oh,
Is
my
it like
goodness.
5 or 50?
Last month we got 90 phone calls. That's just 90 calls saying, I need help. That's not people saying, I've got donations to give, or I want to be on board with this. This is people saying, I need help. I don't have food, or
That's three a day.
it's a lot.
It's more than that because you're open Monday through Friday.
Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. So, you know, we help where we can. We're limited. Like I said, our focus is all about kids, so there has to be children involved. But, you know, we get the calls and, you know, we try to help where we can. I got a call Friday from somebody in McMinn County that is on her own, and I'm trying to get her some help before her phone dies. So
Does it ever weigh on you mentally?
It does. It's hard. It's hard. When I first started, to hear the phone calls, to check the voicemail was hard. But, you know, you just have to remember that for the people that you're helping in that moment, you're helping them through a difficult time. And you are making a difference for that person. So that's where I focus.
Did you ever see the movie The Painted House? It was a
No,
Hallmark movie.
no, I've
It was
not
back
seen that.
during the Depression, and they were I may have some of the, I'm just remembering the basics, but it was during the Depression, and the family went from town to town and was hired as pickers. So the whole family would move, and so when they did, they had to stay literally out in the yard or in the barn with this family and they were going to sign on to help them for the summer or whatever, and their crops became more important to them than it was the family, because if the crops didn't, then they wouldn't have, and they had to eat with the family, and just so horrible. It was really kind of a bad movie. But the whole premise was, at the end of the movie, the boy that was staying with his family that was picking for this other family, he realized that the family he was staying with, that their house wasn't painted. it was just raw clapboard, and I reckon back then maybe they didn't paint them. So he saved his money and painted the house.
Huh.
And so it lifted everybody's spirits
Right.
in a way that was different than just money.
Right.
It was the painted house. Not a specific color, but it's just the. Does that make sense? It was a good
Absolutely.
movie.
Absolutely. I'll have to
Hallmark
look
movie,
for
I
that.
think. The Painted House.
I can see it though, you know, just lift everybody up.
Yeah, it was something minor, but it helped. Well, tell me about this ride. Where can they sign up? Because it's important that people sign up and or donate or come and work with the SAGs, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. You can go to our website, circuitride.org, and all the information is there. If you want to look at the routes and see the routes that the cyclists will be riding, those routes, there's links on the webpage for them. You can link to the route and then download it to your device. So again, another way that people cannot get lost. I'm
Right.
hoping to push that and get everybody to download it to their Garmin. So we've got plenty of information about who put, who's been helping Bike Walk Cleveland. I don't know if you're familiar with them or Regina. She's been helping with this as well. You know, we've just gotten a lot of people on board. We've got a lot of sponsors on board. Just really want to celebrate them the day of. We've got some exciting things that we're going to be doing for the sponsors, so we're excited.
I'd like for you to come back in about a year and let's talk about the progress that's happened because you've got a real problem that you're trying to solve and we need to help you if we can.
Absolutely. I would like to talk to you about housing a lot before then, but I think you've got some great ideas, something that I think we should bring
People
to the
like
city.
you is what made America great.
Oh, well, thank you, sir. Thank you so much for having me today.